Hello, everyone. This is Ross Hamilton, CEO of ConnectedInvestors.com, and welcome to this call. I have a great man here to introduce you to. His name is Bob Diamond. He's been a real estate investor for over a decade. He's been an attorney, and through this relationship of being a real estate investor and an attorney, he found an amazing loophole that is just wide open for anyone who knows where to look and understands how to navigate it. It's not difficult. You just have to know what to look for and know the steps to take. This guy being an attorney, he is very, very detail oriented, has a fantastic training for you here. He's been on, Fox, NBC, CBS, Flip This House, television. I mean, just to name a few. And I'm bringing him back. He was on our podcast recently. I'm bringing him back for this because the technique that he shares with you today, that he lays out completely, it works. It works so well. Bob and I connected after our podcast, and he was just showing me more and more proof on everyone that's using his program here that's doing really well with it. And I'm like, Bob, we got to have you back on with Connected Investors because I've seen this work for over a year now. But very few people still know about it. So that's why you're part of Connected Investors. Sometimes we have to beat you over the head and show you the best things out there. So this is a very important call. I don't want to waste another second of time. Bob, are you there?
I'm here, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. I know there's a lot of people that have been very excited about this particular webinar training we're doing right here. After you were on the podcast, you blew everyone's mind. And I'm so excited for you to kind of lay this out because anyone on the line who has been tinkering with or investing in real estate, you're going to see just how simple Bob's system is. It's like falling off a log simple. If you can do or even think about doing real estate investing, this is a fantastic bolt-on. You're going to have some of those aha moments throughout this presentation. And you're going to leave here with a big smile and a fantastic action plan. So I'm going to get out of the way here, Bob, and let you take it away.
Thanks. And by the way, if you're on Facebook or Twitter or doing email, stop doing that because this is an opportunity for you to learn about something you can do that's going to make your life more profitable and a business you're really going to love. But if you're only paying half attention, you really can't learn about it. My commitment to you is that I'll show you all the good, the bad, and the in-between about this business opportunity, and you just need to listen up because this is going to be your opportunity to do something amazing that is really profitable, that you help people and you make a ton of money. So you're going to love it, but not if you don't pay attention. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, just close these things down. I promise they'll still be there 90 minutes from now when you've had the opportunity to see and evaluate this opportunity for you to do something amazing with your life. I've seen a lot in the 24 years I've been an investor and the 21 years that I've been an attorney, but I've never seen anything as simple, as profitable, and as big as this overages opportunity. And best of all, anyone can quickly take advantage of this. You don't need to be an attorney. You don't need to be experienced in this particular business. You just need to be someone with some passion for making money and making a difference. And if you really want to make a lot of money and you want to have a business that makes you feel great, then this is going to be the perfect business for you. This is what it's based on. When properties, meaning real estate, is sold at a tax foreclosure auction. And by tax foreclosure auction, what I mean is when someone doesn't pay their real estate taxes and the government sells their property to get those taxes caught up. When that happens, money that is left over, well, that money's owed to the former owner. And let me just give you a sort of real world example to make it simple. So average house in America is a little over $200,000. So let's, for simplicity's sake, just round that to $200,000. An average house in America, the real estate taxes are 1.5% of the home value per year. Now, of course, that's going to vary a little. In some states, it's higher, like Texas, it's a little bit higher. In some states, it's lower. Like if you went to South Carolina, it's lower as a percentage. But mathematically, the average is 1.5%. So on your $200,000 house, you're going to have a tax bill of $3,000 a year. Those taxes are, of course, used to pay for police and fire and schools and all that. So they've got to get paid. Now, when someone doesn't pay them, if that goes on for too long, typically 3 or 4 years, then the government is going to sell the property to get those taxes caught up. If we think about it, $3,000 a year, let's say worst case scenario, they get 4 years behind. So that's $12,000 in taxes owed. And let's say that just worst case scenario, that bill doubles because of interest and penalties. And I think you probably know If you fail to pay your taxes, the interest and penalties are super high. So let's say you had $24,000 worth of taxes and penalties owed on this $200,000 house. What the government does is they force that house to a public auction. At that auction, bidders are there, they're bidding, and typically houses sell for anywhere from 70 to 80% of their retail value. So a $200,000 house, that's going to sell for somewhere between $140,000 and $160,000. That's somewhere between 70 and 80% of value. If you think about it, let's say that the government collected, and we'll just round it in the middle, say they collected $150,000 for that $200,000 house. Well, if you only owed $24,000 in taxes, that means there's $126,000 left over for the former owner. And that makes sense. If you think about it, if the government collects $150,000 and they're only owed $24,000 in taxes, well, they shouldn't be able to keep all of the money. They should keep what is owed on taxes plus the cost of the auction, etc. And that's it. And then the former owner is able to collect that money. So that's this very little known fact, believe it or not. Even professionals in that business usually do not know that that extra money is owed to the former owner. But here's the problem. Those former owners have no idea that there's any money there, and they have no idea how to ask for it or who to ask. Here's the reason. They don't attend the auction. No one is going to go and watch their house get sold to some bottom bidder at a tax auction. Instead, what someone is doing when they're losing their house at an auction, they're busy scrambling, trying to find a place that they can move to, because I guarantee you they have bad credit. And when someone can't pay their real estate taxes, they also can't pay their utility bills, their cell phone bill, their car payment, etc. So their credit, I guarantee you, is in terrible shape. And they've got to somehow get an apartment or a place to live. They've got to figure out how to move from a house into an apartment. So what can they keep? What can't they keep? If they have a dog, well, is there someplace we can bring the dog? They've got to tell the kids, etc., all those things. And they also have to get moved, which is its own big project. So they're not going to the auction at the courthouse to watch their house get sold. Instead, they're scrambling around trying to get prepared to move. Nothing ever happens to tell them that there's extra money left over. They don't attend the auction and watch their house get sold for $150,000 and then think to themselves, wait a minute, my bill was $24,000. I wonder if there's some extra money. They're not even there at the auction. I've been going to these auctions since 1989. It was my first tax auction. So it's quite a while. And only once in all those years have I ever seen a former owner at the auction. And that was one gentleman that walked up to the successful bidder and said, hey, do you think I could rent the house for a while? I've not moved out yet and I need some time. Other than that, what you see at those auctions is little groups of professional bidders who are the same guys there every month. And those are the people that are there. It's not the former property owners. So here's the problem. Because the former property owners have no idea there's money there, the government doesn't reach out and find them, and I'll explain that in a minute. They never know to even go and ask for the money. Because they don't know about the money, they don't know how to ask for it or where to start, they never ask. And so the problem is that these folks have lost their home, and now they've lost all the cash generated from the sale of that home. And truly, they need the money. There's no question. They are flat on their back, broke, and they have no idea the money's out there. And the government does not help. Now, we wish they would, but they absolutely do not. And the reason for it is that when the money is unclaimed for too long, the government gets to keep it, and they keep it forever. And you're going to love this. There's a legal word for this process by which the money is kept by the government, and the money's forfeited to the government. But they use a different word rather than forfeit. As lawyers, they teach us to look at word roots to see what a word really means, and you're going to love this word. You'll get a chuckle out of it. The word for the process by which the government keeps the money is called escheatment, and it really does capture it. And the way it works, folks, is generally speaking, if the money is left with the government for, in most states, 3 years, now it varies a little bit by state, and for all of you who get involved, I'll give you a chart that tells you state by state how long it is. But after that escheatment deadline, then they won't give you the money back. You can ask all you want, but you'll never get the money back. Statistically speaking, in a given year, 5.7% of the money goes back to the people that it's being held for. So the rest of it forfeits to the government through that escheatment process. It's a lot. And we're talking an enormous amount of money, billions and billions of dollars. For example, in California, which is, of course, a big state, but just one where I happen to know their state budget, they kept $478 million last year. And in Delaware, which is a smaller state, but again, representative, they kept just under, it's like $275 million. That's a lot of money. And you start multiplying that times 50 states, and you start to see why it's billions of dollars that the government is essentially just stealing from people. And once that achievement process happens, it's a deadline, it's a statute of limitations. You can't claim the money. And the problem's obvious. Governments are hungry for money, and this money's their favorite kind of money. It's hidden under the carpet. They don't have to raise any taxes. They don't get any constituents mad because the people that just got fleeced for the entire value of their house have no idea anything even happened. They just think, oh, the government sold my house, so I guess they keep the money. And that's it. And, these people are also afraid of the government. I mean, can you imagine if your house was sold out from under you and they said you have to leave because we sold your house to somebody else because you didn't pay your real estate taxes? These people are afraid of the government. So the bottom line, the government keeps quiet. If you ask, they give you the money back. No question. They will just apply for it, they'll give you the money back. But if you don't ask, the money is lost, and it's lost forever. There are hundreds of millions of dollars all over the United States just waiting to be claimed. And this is because on an average day in America, and by day I mean business day, Monday through Friday, 3,000 tax foreclosures are completed. That means properties offered for sale and actually sold. And according to JP Morgan Chase, which did a study of this market, they said those tax foreclosure sales generate $13,698,630.14 each and every day, Monday through Friday. So you can imagine being part of a market where the government puts $13.6 million into the pot every day, and it sits there and piles up over 3 years. And can you imagine if you were in a position to get some of that, how big that opportunity would be? It is huge, and it's all over the U.S., and one of the things that I show everybody who gets involved is exactly which states have the most money and where to go get that money. But you might be saying, wait a minute, I don't understand. What do you mean? Why should I care what state? I didn't lose my house at tax sale, so why should I care? Well, here's why. You can get paid finder's fees of 30 to 40% of the money you help recover for helping connect people with the unclaimed money. And I'm here to show you a business system that gets you those finder's fees. So can you imagine being a part of a business opportunity where $13.6 million comes in the pot each and every day, and you could get as much as 30 to 40% of that for helping connect these people who've lost everything with their own unclaimed money that they're otherwise never going to see, because 95% of the time people don't claim the money and they never get the money. So there's huge dollar potential. There are hundreds of millions of dollars in overages available right this second. This isn't something that could happen, might happen, should happen. The money is sitting there right now. So imagine the potential finder's fees that you can make, and also the help that you can give to people. Now, this is a business that I think is ideal for someone who not only wants to make a lot of money, but also wants to help people with a business that's really meaningful. I'll just give you a quick example of someone we helped out that I thought was just really interesting. So one of the things that we teach you to do is when you are working one of these overages claims, which is what the name of these things are, when you get a check, the check will come in to go to your business account, and then you send them their portion. And we got a gentleman who we were working with. The check came in, so I called him up and said, hey, the check came in. Want to let you know we're depositing it today. It'll clear in 2 or 3 days, and we'll send you out your check. So I always want to make sure of 2 things, and I'll train you this as part of the process. First of all, I wanted to make sure, how exactly does he want the check made out? Did he want his middle initial? Is his name like mine, Bob, or is the proper name Robert for the check? And also, what address does he want it sent to? And I also want to give him a heads up that it's coming, so he could, we normally FedEx the check, so I want to give him a heads up that it's coming. And I always, because I'm curious, I just said to him, hey, do you have particular plans for the money? He said, yeah, I do. He said, can I get this by Friday? And I said, yeah, sure. It's Monday right now, so certainly I can overnight a check Wednesday or Thursday, and you'll have it Friday. And I said, what do you have going on? And he said, I can sign up for the class. And I said, what class are you talking about? He said, I've done welding on the side for years. He said, but I don't have like formal training and certification. He said, but I found a job opening that if I get certified in MIG welding, which is something called metal or gas welding, if I get certified in MIG welding and I get a machine, I can then get this full-time job. And I said, oh, interesting. How much does it pay? He said, it pays $68 an hour, plus there's overtime available at time and a half. And I'm like, wow, $68 an hour. And I'm thinking, if you work 2,000 hours a year at $68 an hour, that's over $130,000 a year just in your base salary. And then you could do overtime. And what I was so excited about, I'm like, this guy is never going to lose a house at tax sale again because he's now empowered to make money whenever he needs it. And his overage, it wasn't even a big deal, because that's the funniest thing. Our average deal is a $38,000 overage we're working. And we normally work with 30 or 40% of that money. So they're pretty big deals. This one was small. It was a $12,000 overage. He was going to get $7,500 out of it, and we were getting the balance. $7,500 was enough for him to pay for the certification class and get the welding machine he wanted. And all that was standing between him and essentially making his own way in the world again was $7,500. He had it from working with us, and he was beside himself with excitement. So I think when you're in this business, you really should be someone who would love to have that situation where you're really helping somebody, you're making a bunch of money yourself. And by the way, these deals typically take 7 or 8 hours to do. It's not that much work. Like in that deal, we made about $5,000 with a little under 8 hours worth of work, which is great money, fantastic money. And we put this guy in a position where he's never going to lose another house at tax sale. All he's got to do is work. So perfect business for you if you want to help people and you want to make a lot of money. That's really the bottom line. And this is a pretty simple business with some help. And I'm going to have to show you how to get the lists. Now, these lists are not typically on the internet, and that's not a mistake. They don't make them easily accessible on the internet because they don't want everybody to know about them. The government likes keeping these hundreds of millions of dollars every year. So they don't put them where like a Google search is going to easily find them. So I'll show you how to get them with a stamp or an email. And a stamp meaning you send a self-addressed stamped envelope, they pop the list in the mail and send it back. Or these days, mostly an email to the right person will get you the list back. And you just shoot off an email, typically within a couple hours you get the list back. You're also going to need to know the laws around unclaimed property. And that's kind of the generic category of what we deal with is unclaimed property. I know those laws, they're state specific. So what we did was we did research in all 50 states, and we figured out how it works in each state. And by the way, I did want to be clear on this. There are 3 states that, believe it or not, you can't do this in. So it doesn't work, and everybody's going to want to take notes on this because, as again, I promised you I'd give you the good, the bad, in the middle of this business. So this is one of the not good aspects. So it doesn't work in Colorado, it doesn't work in Michigan, and it doesn't work in my home state of New York. Here's why. You're going to love this. It doesn't work in those states because the states keep the change from the sale. It's just criminal. Can you imagine? They just help themselves to the extra money. So because of that, so we're not going to do it in New York State, Colorado, and Michigan. Now you might wonder, wait a minute, Bob, you're in New York State, but you do the business. And yes, I have, I'm sure, the largest overages business in the country. We have, at any given time, over 100 claims that we're working. So we're certainly the biggest in the country. And it's funny, my most successful student that I know of, and obviously I don't have the results from every student, so I don't know what they all do, but most successful one I know of, he's in Denver, Colorado, where, again, you can't do it in Denver, Colorado, but he's making in the mid 6 figures every year. Told me he's making like $550,000 a year in profit. And what's so interesting about it is, how does he do it? Well, you just use the telephone and the internet. I've got great news for you. There's a $38,000 refund that I can help you get from the government if you want to work with me. And I just work for a percentage. If we're successful, then I get a percentage. If we're not, then it doesn't cost you anything. Would you be interested in learning more about that? Would you care that I was in, Denver and calling you, or New York and calling you? I wouldn't care at all. That's why it doesn't matter. But I did find it amusing that, I have the biggest business in the country. Our student in Denver has, I'm sure, one of the biggest. He's making mid 6 figures a year. He's doing great. And those are states that don't give back the change. And it's just because you can do it from one place to another. So if you're in Colorado or Michigan and New York State, don't worry about it. I know from personal experience and from my students, you can do great working in other places. If you're in one of the other states, that's wonderful, but not necessary. So I'm going to show you how to get the list. You need to know the laws around the unclaimed property so you can know in each state how to do it. And then you're going to need some legal and business agreements and forms. Now, you don't want to get circumvented. Obviously, you want to make sure that you get paid for the work that you do. So I've drafted legal and business agreements and forms that work in all 47 states that we do this in. They work everywhere. They're powerful. They're proven. And they're battle tested. Now, this isn't academic. We're doing 100 deals at a time. So believe me, they're not academic. And I give you the same agreements that we use. So I have those drafted. So you'll get those in Microsoft Word. You'll be able to download them right from the internet. As I update them, you can download the updates. So for everybody who gets involved, that work is already done for you. You don't have to pay a lawyer to do it. I have it. It's all set. And as I said, they're battle tested and proven. And most importantly, this is within your reach. You don't need money to invest. This is something where you're going to get the lists, and then you're going to reach out to the people, call them on the telephone, tell them there's money, and then you're going to send in the applications. A deal typically costs us about $60 in total costs between mailing overnight and things like that. So there's really no investment that's needed. You don't need a loan or any credit. And I'm happy for you if you can get loans. If you've got great credit, it's fantastic. Congratulations. It won't matter with this business, though, because there's nothing that you need to borrow any money for. What you really need is just be given the tools, which I have for you. I have to show you how to find the lists, how to approach the people, and how to get the money. It's really pretty simple and straightforward. It's not difficult. And for everyone who gets involved, I'll give you training in all those things, and I'll give you the resources so this business will be easy for you. This, to me, is the ideal business because you quickly generate enormous profits helping people who've lost everything, who feel terrible about themselves, who really need help to get restarted, and you're going to help get them restarted. And you can do this. You don't need capital. You don't have to do, like, this is related to real estate. It's not real estate, but you don't have to do those complicated real estate things like rehabs or rentals, dealing with tenants and toilets or closing on properties. You don't have to do any of that. If you do that, it's a great business. It's wonderful. You can use this business to fuel that business, but the overage business is much simpler. And it's really perfect as even a part-time project. If you can spend half a day a week, you can get started in this business, get your first deals, and process them along. So you don't have to quit what you're doing. You can literally do this on a half a day on Saturday and do fine with it. What I do with this business, because I have a couple different businesses. I own investment real estate and a couple of other businesses. I own a restaurant and some other things. What I do is I make lump sums of cash in this business, and that feeds my other businesses. I like to think of it as you get rich faster and you get better cash flow. So that's how this thing fits in to whatever else you're doing. And you can call someone easily on a Saturday. Call them Saturday morning. Say, hey, I was hoping to catch you when you weren't at work. You owed a pretty sizable refund that I think you don't know about because it's been sitting there for 2 years, and love to help you get that money. And we can deal with the complexities of it. And you don't have anything at risk, and we'll get the refund. As long as we get it, we get a little portion of it. If we don't get it, then you don't have anything to worry about. It's really simple. What do you think? Would someone be happy to get that call on a Saturday? Free money that they never knew about, and otherwise it's just going to forfeit permanently to the government. And this works with tax foreclosures all over the United States. Now, as I said to you, Colorado, Michigan, and New York State don't give back the money. That's not our problem. I mean, that's a legislative problem we don't deal with. But everywhere else it works, and you can work in any of the states. We'll show you all the different states. We have 18 states that we like the best, and I'll show you all those states, show you they have the most overages, the simplest process to deal with them. I'll show you the best places to work, and also show you where maybe you're a contrarian and you want to work in other places. I'll show you how all of them work, because everybody gets involved. You get a guidebook that goes through state by state, explaining how they work in each state, what the deadlines are for achievement, meaning when the money is still claimable, and how the process works, where to get the lists, etc. We show you that so you can pick where you want to work. And I know everybody on here is probably not familiar with tax sales, so let me show you. Take up my handy PowerPoint pen. So this is a property that my business partners and I were looking at. We were talking to the owner before the tax foreclosure about perhaps buying it from him before the foreclosure. Nice looking house, maybe small on your screen, so I'll give you a little description. It's like a one-level brick house, nice place, looks good from the outside, but on the inside, the tenant had just made a mess out of it. The tenant had a dog that I think he never walked, and there was all the evidence of never walking a dog, so there's dog business all over the place. He torn up the kitchen cabinets. The guy had actually unbolted the toilets and took them with him, so weird. So anyway, we're talking to the owner, and we just couldn't come to terms on price. The house was worth, fixed up, a little over $200,000, and for us, it was a fix and flip. We're talking to the owner, and it needed $35,000 worth of fix-up. It really just, hardwood floors needed to be redone, in some cases pulled up and redone, new kitchen cabinets. It just really needed a lot. My math for a house that I fix and flip is I want to pay no more than 65% of retail minus fix-up costs. So in rough figures, 65% of retail was about $130,000. Fix-up was $35,000. So, I wanted to pay $95,000, maybe $100,000 for the property, but that was it. And the owner is just saying, look, I can't let it go that cheap. And I bought it for more than that, and I need more than that for it. And we just, I'm constrained by the math. I couldn't pay more, so we just couldn't come to terms on price. So we went to the auction and said, I'll just bid at the auction. And so we're there at the tax sale, and there are a bunch of bidders there, like there always are. And then the guy showed up. And it's the same guy that shows up at every auction all across the country. And what I mean is the guy with a small brain and a big wallet. And so P-Brain bids $150,000 for the property. And the problem with that is that he must not have seen the inside of it, because to pay $150,000, then $35,000 to fix it up, even if you pay a real estate commission, there's no profit in it. You may as well just go on the MLS and make a bunch of offers. It's just silly to pay that much. But he probably didn't see the inside of the property and looked nice from the outside. So he pays $150,000. Now, the taxes that were over, not that much. The taxes were $10,000. Now, it's a lot if you're like the form runner who just didn't have $10,000 to pay, but not that much money overall. what that means, because the taxes were only $10,000, is that the overage or the extra money left over is $140,000. That's the money that's claimable by the former owner. That's the cash we're talking about. And that's how overages are generated. And I'll tell you that in almost every situation where there's a house that gets sold or any improved property, meaning there's a structure on it, in almost all those situations, there's an overage because they sell for more than just the taxes. The taxes aren't that much. And the taxes are typically 1.5% of the home value in a given year. They get 3 or 4 years behind. The government sells the property. So they're not a big percentage of the value of the property. So in almost every situation where it's a house that sells or any structure, it generates an overage. So that's how it gets generated. And that's how they get generated all the time. And I like this business because it gives you big returns for a small effort. That's why I said, even if you can only do, part-time effort in this business at the beginning, you can still make great money with this because you don't need to make this a full-time enterprise. You can get started out slowly, start making some money, and if you love the business, just make it a full-time business. You can make a ton of money. Or you can just keep it small, use it to fuel your business or whatever other business you're in or would like to be in. So let me show you what I'm going to call a typical list. And by typical list, I mean this is a county with a population of 100,000 people. In America, we have 330 million people as our population. We have 3,007 counties. So a little over 100,000 persons per county is kind of an average size county. If we look at this list, you're going to see that $403,000 is the overage money owed to the top 3 people on the list. And working with them, I'd expect to make $140,000. That's what you should expect to make. And here's the math. It's simple math. $403,000 in overages is what you're going to help get back. 35% is what's our fee. Typically, we're at 30 to 40%. So I'll just average it at 35%, which means you make $141,000. So let's take a look at this list. So this is an actual list. And I highlighted these 3 in yellow just so you can see them. And I sorted the list just so you know from biggest to smallest because we want to work with the biggest ones first. So being very clever people, we just sort biggest to smallest. So these top 3, Betty and Old Peachtree Village and Kevin Johnson, they're owed $134,000, $127,000, and $141,000. Totals $403,000. They've been owed it for a while. June of 2014 for Betty and Old Peachtree Village and December 2015 for Kevin Johnson. So all of them have been owed the money for a while. And let's say that you were Kevin Johnson. If the government owed you $141,000, how fast would you get down there and get it?
Bob, I have a fast car for situations just like that. I would be down there as quick as I could to pick up that money. I mean, that's my money. That's owed to me. So I would drop everything I was doing and run down there.
If they opened at 8 o'clock in the morning, you'd be there at 7 with a coffee waiting for them to open to go get your money. And so we know a couple things from this. We know, number one, that Kevin does not know about the money. If he knew about the money, he wouldn't let it sit there from December of 2015. It's crazy. So we know that. He doesn't know about it. We also know that it's a lot of money, and it's a free country. You can charge as much or as little as you want. I would say realistically, 50% is the most you're ever going to get. I think if you say to someone, if I said to you, I can go help you get some money, you're at $140,000 and we'll split it. We take 60, you get 40. That probably would not be too appealing to you, right? Right. But if I said to you, we'll do it for a third. You get 2/3, we get a third, we'll do all the work. So for everybody out there, anything like 50-50 is okay. And we gauge it by like a really big overage, like $141,000. You don't need to do 50-50. Smaller overages, when you get those, $10,000 or $15,000 overage, then you'll do 50-50. But I think realistically, that's your upper limit. But you're recovering money that people have no idea where it is. They don't know it exists. And you're saying to them, the offer is, I'll go do all the work to get the money. If it doesn't work out, you have no loss. I'll absorb the work and whatever cost I have. You don't need to worry about it. But if and when we're successful, then we get a portion of it. So that's pretty good. Betty Juno is another example. So with Betty, she had most likely a house at 1415 Richmond Terrace. Check this out. June of 2014, that property was sold by the government at tax sale. There's $134,000 sitting there waiting for her to come ask for it. So obviously Betty does know about the money, and when you track her down, and we'll show you how to do that, when you track her down and give her the good news, she's going to be thrilled. Another one I just wanted to go over real quickly, because sometimes this intimidates people and it's really unnecessary. Like they'll see an LLC, and they'll be like, oh man, I don't know if I could talk to a company, and I'm only, single person, woman, or man, I'm new, I don't know how to do this. This is not a real company. I don't mean it's not legally a real company. I mean, it's not a company like Bank of America or Alcoa Aluminum Corporation or McDonald's or some big company where you wouldn't even know who to talk to. This is like two guys, a beat up pickup truck, and one hard hat between the two of them that tried to do a real estate deal that fell apart. And I say that because, I mean, think about it. The money's from a real estate deal, right? It's from a piece of real estate that was lost. And you can kind of tell from the name, this was something they were trying to build, maybe a little strip shopping center or something like that. It was located at 1942 Old Peachtree Road. That's the property that was lost. And they named it Old Peachtree Village Retail LLC. And this is from June of 2014. So what that shows us is that these people, first of all, know nothing about the money. Otherwise, they would have gone and gotten it. They're going to be thrilled. If you call them up and say, hey, I'd like to work with you. You guys are owed a refund. If you work with me, you should get about $83,000. Would you be interested in working with me? No risk to you. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to put up any money up front. So would you like to work with me on this? How appealing do you think that would be to them? That's the kind of people we work with. And obviously we work from biggest to smallest. And another interesting thing about this list, and again, this is just a list from one county. This is not some compile. This is one county. You know, Benford Holbrook's guys owed $104,000. Cody Taylor, $66,000. Bernadine Stevens, $55,000. And look at the dates on this. So this state is a 5-year state. So you have 5 years to recover the funds. Let's say that someone on this call to say, I'm going to tackle that list. I'm going to do these. These would be 13 deals because I numbered them. It's 1 through 13. So these would be 13 deals. Say you did that over the next year. So a little over one a month. You'd help recover $1,053,000. That's what you'd help bring back. And your fee would be $368,000 out of that. Basically a deal a month. That's a nice payday, isn't it? One a month. But we'll do baker's dozen. we got to squeeze one extra one in. I guess we could drop poor Jennifer McCombs off at the bottom if you don't want to do that one. If you say, sorry, I only want to do one a month, this 8 hours of work to make this, because it would be, if it's 13 deals at 8 hours each, that's 80 plus 24, it's 104 hours worth of work over a year. That's a lot of work. That's exhausting. You need a vacation after that. Just kidding. So that's one list. And by the way, you're going to get your own lists. I'll show you how to get lists whenever you need them. So you can go out and, the lists are bonanza. I just want to show you real quickly another list just to point out a few things. So this one is another county that we're working in. These lists are county by county. So what's interesting to me about this, these are people that are people of very modest means. And what I mean by that, we'll look at like Carol and Fred Davis. So these guys lost what probably is their house. It sold for $60,000. You can see it there. And the overage, look at that, the overage is $53,000. What that means essentially is the house sold for $60,000. The overage is $53,000. What that means is that they only owed $7,000 in taxes because the leftover money is $53,000. And the other thing I'd say is that a house that sells for $60,000 at one of these auctions is probably worth $90,000 to $100,000. So people that live in $90,000 or $100,000 houses work hard for every penny they've ever gotten. These are not people that money just comes rolling in easily. These are people that work their fingers to the bone to get whatever they have. And for them to lose everything is devastating. Think about how little this person has. I mean, can you imagine they couldn't even raise $7,000 to save the roof over their head? And the government will take payment plans, by the way. If you say, hey, I could pay you 25% down and the rest over 36 months, they'll take that. So they couldn't even come up with 25% of $7,000, which is crazy. And instead, they're forced to move out of their house. So you can imagine when you come along to them and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, I'd love to help you out. Would it help if I get you $37,000 that is owed to you as a refund? Would that help you? Can you imagine how much that would help people in that situation where they've been thrown out of their own house? So as I said, I think the ideal person for this business is someone who really wants to help people and wants to make a lot of money. Because if we did these 10 deals, which are these ones, $359,000 is the amount we'd recover, and we'd keep $112,000 out of that. That would be our fee, $112,000. I mean, I think working 80 hours for $112,000 is a good deal for me as the business owner. And you really help these people. Again, this is just another county. And by the way, there are 3,007 counties in the United States, so there are way more of these lists and these leads than you can ever get to. Which one thing people ask me, they'll say, well, why do you guys teach people this? Why don't you keep it all for yourselves? And that, I think, is a very fair question, by the way. We can't get to everyone. And I'd really like to see more people helped. I mean, so in our business, we right now have 104 claims in-house. That's our total number in-house at the moment. It takes us typically 3 to 4 months to process claims. So we can do these 100 claims that we have, we can do about 3 times a year. We can do that same number. So we'll get maybe 300 claims over the course of the next 12 months. 300 claims doesn't even cover, it probably covers, 5 or 6 counties across the country in total, which only leaves everybody else like 3,000 counties to work with. So 2 things. One, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And secondly, I want to see more of these people get helped. I really can't stand it that these people are losing everything. And you can see it just in the age of some of these claims. And, they don't know about this money. They don't know a thing about it. So we'll show you how to find them, say, hey, I'd love to help you get this refund. Would you like us to help? And then make some money out of it. I know that we're running a little bit long. Would you mind if I give out the ordering information so people that want to get involved at this point and maybe can't stay for the entire webinar, they've got kids to take care of, dogs to walk, etc., that we could let them get involved, and then we'll continue onward?
Yeah, Bob, absolutely. I mean, I've been watching my email blow up in the chat box. I mean, people are really excited about this. So let's make sure they can get it right now.
Okay. I know everybody can't stay for the entire webinar. So if you can't stay for the whole webinar, this is the ordering information, or you can dial toll-free at 888-722-4682. We do have live people in our office, so they do overages. They can tell you about the system. They can answer any questions you have. For everybody else, don't leave, because this is only a short detour. I have lots more I want to teach you about this opportunity, but I know everybody can't stay the whole time. So if you can't, this gives you an opportunity to get involved. And for everybody who does get involved during this webinar, I have a special bonus for you. For everybody who gets involved during this webinar, we'll hold 3 live training sessions where we basically spoon feed you the business and get you started. And the most important thing I find often is that you need your questions answered. Some people are just stuck until they get their 1 or 2 questions answered, like how does it work in, my state? We can be there to do that for you. And so we hold training sessions. It's going to be this coming Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's officially scheduled for an hour. We stay on and answer all the questions, so it may run a little bit longer if people have more questions, but it's scheduled for an hour. We do record it, so if you want to go back and listen to it, or if you can't make the live call, you can listen to it. But the point of that live training is to answer your questions. The only sort of catch is that I need to know how many people are going to be on the call so that I can staff it appropriately on my side. We have our support people that go on the call. I'm on the call. And this way we can answer your questions. And my commitment is to answer every question asked on those calls. And I need to, in order to meet that commitment, I have to make sure I know how many people are going to be there so that I can staff appropriately. And what I don't want is, 10 minutes before the live webinar, I have 10 people sign up, and then I don't have enough people on my side to support the call. So really simple. If you sign up during this webinar, you get in on the live training. If you sign up later, you're free to sign up, but you won't get on the live training. So you can order now, or you can order at the end of the presentation. I'll try to put the order link up where I can, but let's continue onward. And I want to teach lots more about this opportunity, but I'll try to put the order link where I can fit it on pages. So if you want to get involved, you can do so at any time. Couple of secrets. This category of things is called found money. And the best found money claims are going to be from tax sale overages. They're not from lost bank accounts or other things found on the state treasurer's websites, because everybody knows about those. Any Google search will find them, and way too easy to find. And the amounts are small. People don't forget, like Cody Taylor did not forget about a $66,000 bank deposit that he left behind. Nor did he not realize that someone was supposed to send him a check for $66,000 and the check got lost and eventually the money got turned into the state. That never happens. So the amount that's with state treasurers is relatively small. It's $100 here, $200 there. It's not big amounts of money. And with state treasurers, they limit what you can charge, typically to 10% of what they do have. So it's just not a fruitful business opportunity. So this is not the same as things you'd find on the state treasurer's websites. The tax foreclosure monies, which are called overages, are different. Very difficult for a claimant to find them without you. It takes us about an hour to give you the training on that. We need to show you exactly how to figure out who has the money, who has the list, and how to get in touch with them, and what to say to get the list. A claimant's never going to do that. A claimant's what we call the people who lost the property. They're not going to find this money without you. The claims are also large in tax foreclosures. Large amounts, claims of $10,000 and more are kind of a dime a dozen, and even over $100,000 are common. And again, just looking at this list, if we were to go for claims $10,000 and over, there are 24 claims in just this one county. And just for rounding, I had these 3 in here, but for rounding, like $1.3 million worth of claims sitting there that are worth working in this county. Now, there's smaller claims, of course. There's $5,000, $4,000. We're not going to bother with those. That's why I sorted them to the bottom. these are the ones we would work. And just in one county, check this out, one county, there's $455,000 in finder's fees out there for you if you just worked one county. You don't have to work 10 counties across the country. You can work one over the course of a year. And essentially, this is 27 claims, so a little more than 2 claims per month. Imagine that, $455,000 working 2 claims a month. Big claims are really common. You get paid pretty quickly on claims. I would say for an expectation when you're first starting out and maybe feeling your way a little bit, you're newer, figure 4.5 months to process a claim from beginning to end. It takes us typically 3.5 months to do it, but I'm assuming that you're going to be a little bit slower. You're going to take your time a little bit more. And by the way, if you turn in a claim and all the T's aren't crossed and the I's aren't dotted or there's a form missing, they just tell you what they need. They don't tell you, oh, you can't make the claim now. They just say, oh, we need you to notarize this, or we need you to check that box. So don't stress about it. We teach you how to do that claiming process, but you get paid pretty quickly. Once the government gets the application, they look it over, you follow up with them, and you'll get paid. It's not long. Our world's record is 5 days, which happened once, is not at all typical. Bureaucracies don't typically move that fast, but typically 3 to 4 months is what you should expect. And it's good because it's like a pipeline. You feed these things in, and then 3 or 4 months later, they start popping out on the other side. And as you feed them in steadily, then you get steady flow out of the other side. So your business becomes predictable. You know when your profits are going to come in, and it's really, really good business. Third secret is there's not too much competition in this. Now, you'd think there would be, but there isn't. And there are a couple good reasons for it. First of all, investors never think about what happens to monies generated from a tax foreclosure sale. The people who are buying a tax foreclosure sale are busy doing that business, meaning they're running around looking at a bunch of properties. They get their money together. They go to the auction to bid. Hopefully they get a property or two. They run out, call their contractor to go look at it, change the locks, all that business of that. So they're not thinking, oh, I wonder what the government did with that $3 million it collected from the sale today. They're not thinking about that at all. And the people who are owed the money, meaning these former property owners, they have no idea the money's out there for them. Not a blessed clue. They don't have any idea. So they have no idea. They're not pursuing it. They don't go down to the courthouse to check on it. And really the system is too expensive for sort of a casual do-it-yourselfer to just try it out. Because to do it, first of all, you have to do legal research. Now, we finished legal research in all 50 states, but even to do it in one state, our budget for legal research in each state was 10 hours per state to do our legal research. So if you wanted to do it even in one state, and you don't even know if that's even going to be a good state, I can tell you if you're in Colorado, Michigan, or New York State, don't do it at all because it's impossible. But even the other states, you wouldn't know if it's a good state or not until you invested about 10 hours in researching that state. 10 hours of attorney time, I mean, hiring an attorney, even a cheap attorney at $300 an hour, that's $3,000 in research just for one state. And then you've got to get the forms drafted. You've got to figure out what business points to put in the agreements with the former owner and how to structure the deal so you're not circumvented. So that in itself would take thousands of dollars in legal work. We have a dozen primary forms we use in the business. And even if you had like the world's fastest attorney, say they could do a form in an hour, which believe me, from scratch would be like rockets fast. But let's say they could do it in an hour per form. Well, if you need 10 forms for the core of the business, at an hour a piece, that's another 10 hours worth of attorney work. That's another $3,000. So before you'd even get your first deal, you'd be spending $6,000 on legal fees to get everything lined up. And that's just not something that anybody's going to do just randomly. So really not much competition with this, which is really interesting because it's such a huge opportunity, but really not much competition. When you do this business, you help people who've lost everything and you make a great living. And I think that's the perfect combination. I think delivering a service that's really needed, that's really critical, is absolutely the perfect combination. And I have a woman who needs an eye operation to restore her sight. And it's actually a pretty simple operation. So she needs cataract operation on both eyes. And the cataracts are so bad that she literally can't see anymore. She can't drive, she can't read, and she's actually on disability. She needs the cataract operation to restore her sight. She's going to use the money we got her from her overage to pay for a cataract operation. So she's getting $16,000, which is more than enough to pay for the operation. And I'm actually going to go down and meet with her. I usually don't meet with the customers, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to go hand deliver that check and take her over to the doctors just because it's fun. I mean, just to me, that is like such an exciting, fun thing to do. I'm going to go ahead and fly down there, and then I'm going to take the check. And Do you remember those Ed McMahon Publishers Clearinghouse videos, like the commercials they used to do? So he used to go driving around with like the Chrysler minivan with the balloons. I'm going to do that same thing. And I'm going to bring like a giant check and balloons. I'm going to knock on her door to deliver the check. And then we're going to go to her bank. We're going to deposit the check. And then we're going to go to the doctor's office and get her operation set up. Because now she's got the money. And I don't have any other business where you could possibly get to do that. And I actually called her and said, hey, I want to come by and drop off the check. And she said, aren't you in New York? And I said, yeah, but I'm going to come by. I said, and by the way, can you set up a doctor's appointment for that day? Let's go over and see the doctor and get that set up for you. She was almost in tears because she can't drive, so she can get around with great difficulty. But I'm going to take her to the bank. We're going to deposit the check, make sure it goes, because she's legally blind. So all this stuff is very difficult for her. So I'm going to deposit the check with her. We're going to go to the doctors, and we're getting her set up. And for me, it's a privilege to be able to do that with her. It's an absolute privilege. And you have a business, you actually make some money with it, which is pretty amazing. You get to touch people that way. So if you would like an amazing business where you make a lot of money and you really help people that need it, this is the perfect business for you. And I suppose if you just want to make money, it's good too, but you're really missing part of the joy of it. But anyway, I don't judge. So step one in your new business, you got to find out who's owed the money. So you need a targeted list of the people owed the money. As an attorney, I know how to do this. I'll show you how to get the list. It's very simple. Typically, an email out to the right person in the county gets you the list. If not, then you either send them a self-addressed stamped envelope or you make a phone call and you'll get the list. That's very simple. Step two, you got to locate the former owners. So, we need the former owners' cooperation. We've got to call them up and say, hey, would you like for me to help you get this refund that you already don't know about? So we do need to contact them. I'm going to show you how to find those former owners who are owed the money right online. You don't need to be a private detective. I think everybody knows these days it's pretty easy to find like an old friend or someone you lost touch with online. And you've probably done that at some point, found an old buddy from college or old friend from childhood, right? Everybody does that. Facebook makes it simple. And if Facebook doesn't catch it for you, then there's Google. So we show you how to do those free searches, but we found this amazing tool, and I don't have any financial stake in this, so I can say this with sort of just as a practitioner. We found this search tool that honestly, I think it must be like as powerful as one's private detectives have, because it actually gives you not only the contact information for the person that lost the property, meaning their email address, phone numbers, cell phone numbers, it also gives you all the contact information for their relatives. And you can do unlimited searching, and it costs a little under $10 a month. So we bought a 6-month membership for $58 to test it out. Unlimited searching. And what's so strong about getting the relatives is I could call, say it was your brother that was owed money, and say that your brother was sort of moving around, bouncing from here to there, trying to get resituated. If I called you and said, you have a brother, Derek, right? And if you said, yeah, I'd say, oh, I'm so glad I found you. Your brother's owed a really sizable refund. I'm trying to get a hold of him, but I can't seem to find him. Do you think if I give you my name and number, you can have him call me so I can get him his refund? And what happens when you do that is you would say yes, because I'm not asking you for your brother's information. I'm not saying, give me your brother's phone number and email. I want to call him. I'm not asking you for that. I'm just saying, hey, your brother's owed a big refund. I'm trying to get it to him. Would you have him give me a call? Here's my name and phone number. And makes it so easy to get in touch with people. Otherwise, it might be hard to find. But it's very easy. And this is super powerful. So a lot of them, you will find them on Facebook. Send them a message that way. You find them sometimes on LinkedIn. You'll find them on Google searches. But this tool for just under $10 a month is phenomenal. So I'll show you that. And again, I don't have any stake in it. It's not my tool. It's just one I found really works great. And by the way, when you register, all the training is delivered electronically. So you'll get your user ID and password immediately. You can be started your training 5 minutes from now. And the training typically takes 3 to 4 hours to go through the whole training. So as soon as you order, you'll get your user ID and password. If you order by phone, that's fine also. That's a toll-free number, the 888 number. They'll give you your user ID and password. They'll email you a receipt, so that gets your user ID and password. So that's not any slower, but probably easier to order on the web if you're on the web. So that's step 2. Step 3, you got to get the owner to work with you. So we'll show you how to contact them online or by phone or US mail. It's your choice. You can send them internet messages between instant messages, email, etc. Or you can just pick up the phone and call them. That's often what we like to do because it's easy. You can use good old US Postal Service. It still works. It's cheap. It's 50 cents to mail a letter. Very simple. Mail people a letter, the good news. But more importantly, we'll tell you exactly what message you've got to email, what to say on the phone, or what to send in the mail. So they'll be excited to work with you. And I don't know if you can guess this, but if you were to guess, out of the different things we have to do, we have to get the lists of people owed the money. That is pretty simple, but get the lists, find the people using these tools, and then we got to talk to them and sort of convince them that this is real. What do you think might be the hardest part of that?
I think if someone contacted me and said there was all this money just sitting there waiting for me, at first I'd be like, yeah, right. And I wouldn't believe it. It's too good to be true. Like the news that you're delivering is like Santa Claus is what it would feel like to me.
Exactly true. Because it sounds, too good to be true in a lot of ways, especially if someone lost their house. I mean, I call up even this guy, Charles King. Hey, Charles, you're owed $16,000. I'd love to help you get it. He's like, yeah, right. This is a guy who lost his house at a tax sale. He's like, yeah, I'm owed $16,000 and I'm Santa Claus too. Who are you? So a couple things. One, we give you the messages to send to start that relationship off so you can build the credibility and build the rapport. But I'm also going to give everybody a special bonus which will enhance your credibility. It really knocks out the whole problem. I'll go over that at the end. One of the special bonuses I'm going to give you is going to knock out that problem. But you got to get them to work with you because it is real. We know that. And it's not a hard conversation. You just got to build the rapport first. And there's what I call step 3.5. And as an attorney, I'm innately born to worry about things, I think. So this is where you can receive thousands, meaning your money, or you can lose everything because you don't know what you're doing. As an attorney, I know how to secure your fee, and I'll show you how to secure your fee. I'll give you powerful attorney-written contracts that lock down that deal. These are written contracts. They're solid. They're tested. We've been using them since 2005, and we've refined them over time. So at this point, they're locked in. They're solid, and we don't need to make changes to them anymore. But they are rock solid. So I'll give you those forms. They're good in all the states. You can do this in all 47 states. We have a couple of custom forms for different states, but you'll get access to all of those. And when we update any forms, you get free updates because we put everything online where you can download it anytime you need it, as long as you're a member and you're part of our group. I'll also teach you an insider secret, which we had to learn because you can't do this in New York State, so we had to learn it. We use local folks who will go and meet the people owed the money. They'll get all the papers signed, and then they'll overnight them back to you. Because I obviously don't want to go traveling around the country to sign these people up. It's too time consuming. You don't ever have to go out and leave your house to go meet people or leave your office. We'll show you how to get exactly those same local folks to work with you. They're independent contractors, they're not my employees, but their business is going out, getting things signed and sending them back, and they're great. We use them. Typically, they cost $50 to at most $60 to go out and sit down with someone, get signed up. And truthfully, even if someone were a half an hour from my house, I still wouldn't want to go out and meet them. And here's why. If I spent a half an hour driving out to see them, say I spend half an hour, 45 minutes with them, and then a half an hour driving back, guess what? I've just blown like 2 hours getting somebody signed up. It's way more profitable for me to spend that 2 hours making calls and finding other people that I can work with rather than driving and just doing busy work. Pay someone else $50 to go out and meet them. I'll show you how to do that. And this is the key that lets you stay at home. You can work in your pajamas and bunny slippers if you want to. Work in the best areas and have a great lifestyle and a great business. Let's review this process. Business process, very simple. You're going to get the list of people owed money. We'll show you how to do that typically with an email. You get it back in an hour or two. We'll show you how to locate the people owed the money right online. Very simple. We'll give you the message to contact them with, whether you email them, instant message them, call them on the phone, or send U.S. Postal Service. We'll give you the message. You're going to send the service out to get the paperwork signed, which is great because you don't have to leave your house. And then, favorite part, we'll show you how to get paid at the end. It's a very simple process. Just get the list, find the people, contact them or message, and send the service out to get the paperwork signed, and then get your check. It's a simple, linear business, which is absolutely awesome. There's a test at the end of the section, so you got to pay really close attention. We're doing a training call, and a guy is asking some questions, which is great, so we're answering his questions. And we do the training calls on GoToWebinar, so you can type in questions, we answer them. I actually record the body of the training so that I can answer questions the whole time, and I'll say, oh, hold your questions at the end. Instead, that's recorded, and then I'm just answering questions. So anyway, he shows me his list, and he says, I got this list, and I'm thinking of working on this one. I'm like, $1,700 overage? I'm like, I know the ones that small exist. Like, aren't there some bigger ones we can work? He goes, well, I don't want to lose too much money. And so I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, don't want to lose too much money. Like, I don't understand. What do you mean? he's worried that if he messes it up, that he's going to lose a commission. And he's like, if I'm taking a third, a little over $500 is not a lot to lose. And I'll do the bigger ones later. So I'm like, okay. So I walked him through the process. He just had some questions, and he literally followed the process. He used the online tool to locate them. He used our $58 for 6-month tool, locates them, gets their contact information, decides to just send them an instant message. Sends them a message. You can cut and paste our words into the message so it's a message that works. The people said, wow, I'm owed $1,700. Cool. How do I get it? He says, here's our deal. We'll go ahead and we'll take a third and you get the rest. And people says, great. Say, great. So he then sends the service out to get the contract signed because he just wanted to really follow the whole process. Sends the service out. That happens. Processes it, gets $1,723 check. He keeps 30% of that, $517.16. So he's happy. He's like excited. And we were talking. He's like, he said, this is really exciting because my wife told me I couldn't buy any more courses. So I kind of bought this and didn't tell her about it. He said, and I got to make some money with it because I got to pay for it. I'm like, well, great. I said, so you're well on your way. And I said, what are we going to do next? And he said, well, I found another one. It's $8,900 overage. I said, great. I again gave him some advice. He does it. He's working his way up, right? So he makes $2,671. So I'm talking to him. His name's Paul, and his wife's name's Donna. I said, Paul, did you tell Donna? And he said, no, not yet. I'm like, Paul, you got to tell her. I said, if you're making money, she's going to get mad at you. She's going to think you're hiding something from her. Because I know. He said, I want to make sure that it's really going to work for me. And like 3 times the charm, right? So I said, if you don't tell her with the next one, I'm not helping you anymore. And I said, I'm cutting you off if you don't do it. He said, okay, I'll tell her next time. And I said, okay, what are we doing next? And so he finds this $24,000 overage. He, again, follows the process to a T and gets the check. And I'm talking to him. I'm like, so what happened? He said, oh, man, I did exactly what you told me to do. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you teach us that every other week we should call the county, just make sure they have everything they need, see if there's anything that they're missing, and just find out when they think they're going to finish processing it and send the check. So I called them last Tuesday, and they said, oh, we're sending out checks on Friday. We're cutting all the checks, and everything goes out Friday. And so he said, I then called the post office to see how long it should take that mail to get to me because it was coming first-class mail. And they said, well, if it gets in the mail on Friday, it should be here on Monday. If not, it'll be here Tuesday. So he said, all weekend, I was so excited. He said, I wanted to say something to Donna, but I couldn't. I was just, I was like, I didn't want to jinx it. So I'm like, you're not going to jinx it. But anyway, so he said, so Monday morning comes. And he said to Donna, he said, hey, what time does the mailman come? And she said, like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And he said, okay. He said, I'm waiting for something. I'm gonna go to work late today. So she goes, okay. And she goes, I'm going to go upstairs and take a shower. And he said it was almost 9:30. And so she's upstairs taking the shower. And this is an important fact. Don't forget, she's upstairs taking a shower. And Paul's downstairs having a cup of coffee, sitting at the kitchen table, watching out his back window where he would see the mail truck come. Then he sees it, the mail truck coming down the street. And he said he got so excited, he stands up, jostles the table, nearly spills his coffee. And he's in his robe and slippers. He cinches up his robe, runs outside, and waits for the mail truck to come around. So the mail truck makes his way around the cul-de-sac, comes back, and mailman hands him the mail. And he's kind of casually leafing through it. The mailman, he knows the mailman from back in high school. The mailman's name's Sal. And Sal's like, hey, Paul, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time, blah, blah, blah. Talking. And meanwhile, Paul's flipping through the mail, and then he sees it. It's the envelope with the check in. He said he could tell it was a check because he could see it's the return address in the county, plus it had that clear acetate or plastic front where you can see through and tell it's a check. And he said he got so excited. He's like, Paul, I left something on the stove. I got to run inside. So Sal's like, okay, see you next time. So Paul runs up to the door, and they said he stops. He gets to his front door, and he gets nervous. He's like, I looked to the left, looked to the right. So I wanted to make sure my neighbors weren't seeing me. He's like, well, I had this big check. I'm like, they couldn't see through the envelope, right? He's like, I know. He said, but I was nervous because I never really held a check that big before. So he didn't see anybody. So he goes inside. He closes the door, get this, and he double locks it and puts the chain across. I'm like, why are you doing that? He's like, well, I want to make sure nobody walked in. He's like, not that anybody really walks in. But again, I had this $24,000 check. And so then he goes to the kitchen, and he's so nervous. And let's see if I can do a radio right now. But he's so nervous that his hands are shaking. So the envelope's I don't know if you can hear that. The envelope's shaking. So he says, I don't know what to do. So he goes, I know what to do. I'll take the butter knife and open the envelope. So he wipes the butter off the butter knife. And then he slips it under the envelope and he opens the envelope, starts pulling the check out, and then he sees it, this $24,000 check. And meanwhile, remember Donna's upstairs in the shower? He starts yelling, Donna, come down. Donna, come down. Donna. So Donna's upstairs in the shower. She thinks like he's fallen down and can't get up, or he set the kitchen on fire or something. So she jumps out of the tub, nearly slips and falls on the tile. And so she comes running down the stairs with her towel wrapped around her, like cinches up her towel, and sees him in the kitchen holding this envelope with the check half sticking out of it, looking at her. And so she looks at him, and he hands her the envelope. She goes, my hands are wet. So she wipes off her hands on the towel. Then she takes the envelope. This is classic. I love this. She looks at the check. She looks at him. Looks at the check one more time. Then looks at him and looks him straight in the eye and says, what have you done? He says, oh, I'm doing this new business that I got. He's like, new business? What are you talking about? He goes, I bought this course. He's like, another course. And he's like, yes, but this is working. He goes, this is the third one I've done. She's like, 3 of these. You have $24,000? He goes, well, we don't get to keep $24,000. We have $7,400. She's like, what about the rest of the money? And then she explains that someone lost their house at tax sale and he's helping get the money back. And she's like, wow, that's a really cool business. And she goes, so we have $7,400 from this? And he's like, yeah. And notice how she converted to we have $74,000. So he goes, yeah. She goes, that's amazing. And he tells her about the other two. And he said they were smaller. I didn't want to say anything because I, just didn't want to be embarrassed. And she's like, that's amazing. And then he said the best moment they've had in like years in their marriage, she just stops and she looks at him right in the eyes again. She says, I'm so proud of you. And he said, it's just so like nice to have his wife just be proud of him. And she's like, you always try, bought these business things and I always wanted you to be successful. You'd be all excited and then nothing would happen. She said, it's kind of like, I want to support you, but it was disappointing. She said, I'm so proud of you. Stuck with this. And she's like, this is great. And she was just really, really nice. So the test question, if you were starting this business, would you start with a $24,000 claim? Would you start with the $8,900 claim? Or would you start with a $1,700 claim? Now, by the way, for you folks out there, you may say, oh, I'd start with this little claim like that guy did, $1,700. Nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong with that would be sticking with those $1,700 claims. No reason for that. It's the same amount of work. And plus, if you want to help people, you help them more by getting them more money. So we don't do any claims below like essentially $10,000. Every once in a while I'll do one less than that, but not generally, just because we can't get to them all anyway. But $8,900 is okay. $24,000 is a good start. You could start anywhere, just make up the bigger ones pretty quickly because you want to help yourself, your family, and you want to help these people who've lost everything. This is an amazing business. You're going to love it. There's no dealing with real estate at all. I love real estate. I own a bunch of investment real estate, but tenants and toilets are a nuisance, and dealing with contractors is a nuisance, so you don't have to deal with that. You can work the business from anywhere. You can be outside the United States. I spend about a month a year traveling outside the United States. I was every December, I have family that's in Europe, so every December, about the first week in December, I'll leave and stay in Europe, either Poland or England, through the first week in January because I have family there. I work perfectly fine there. The phone rings there. I have internet service. I went on safari a couple of weeks ago. A 2-week Tanzanian safari. It was absolutely awesome. Just fantastic. So even there, I was able to do the business. Now, I didn't have all day out on the trail. I didn't have email service. But when I got back to the hotels at night, I had email service. I was able to use the phone, and it was fine. It was a little bit slower, but it was absolutely fine. So if you like to travel or go around, you can absolutely do this. You can do this from the beach. You can do it from anywhere. It's not place dependent because people aren't coming in to meet you. You're getting on the phone and working the phones. This can be completely work at home. No need to leave your home or office. You can get checks quickly. 90 to 180 days is a good range depending on how quickly you get on top of it and how quickly you get your claims in. Certainly 180 days is way more than reasonable, even if you're slow. 90 days is if you're like us. Statistically, it takes us 76 days to process a claim from beginning to end. That's our mathematical average. But we've been doing it for a while. So just figure 90 to 180 days and set that expectation with your claimant that anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending how fast the government moves, you'll have a check in your hand and you don't need to worry about anything in between now and then. Just bureaucracies work at their own pace. And the funds are ready to collect right now. This isn't something that is going to happen. We hope will happen, should happen. This has happened. The money's sitting there and the funds are ready to collect. And there's no investment to get into deals. You're going to spend $50 paying someone to go out meet with somebody, $10 from mail it back. There's really no investment, which is fantastic. Because the other thing that happens, if anything ever goes wrong with one of your claims, it doesn't work out, the research is off, something happens, which occasionally will happen. It doesn't happen much, but every once in a while it happens. You don't have a big loss to deal with. I've been in business a long time, and in businesses, you can make very large investments. Back in 2008, I was doing a lot of real estate development. And office at 12th and Locust, you saw a big, beautiful building, right? I started that project in May of 2007. I bought that building for $2 million and put $2 million into it. And I'm sitting there with a $4 million investment, which was all in by 2009 at like the depths of the recession, rather. And, it's like you can't really walk away from that, And I literally put in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars just because I have a restaurant there, and I built out the restaurant and leased it to tenants. And I had 2 restaurant tenants fail. And they tied me up for a year and a half because by the time they couldn't get their financing, couldn't open, etc., I had vacancy for an extra almost 2 years. And that space rents for $13,000 a month. So I had to supplement that money in. And let me tell you, in the middle of a recession, you don't want to have to do that. So this business is great because you don't have to do that. If something goes wrong, you lose $60. And usually nothing goes wrong. But just, as an attorney, again, I like to look at the downside. Your downside's $60. It's wonderful because it's just really good. And that also means you can do a lot of deals. You don't have to limit yourself to like one deal where you're throwing the dice and everything. You can have a bunch of them out. And think about that. We have 104 deals. And if it takes $60 a deal, we might have, a little over $6,000 into 100 deals, which are literally a couple $1 million worth of overages are working. That's a good trade. There are hundreds of millions of dollars available all across the United States. There are 3,007 counties altogether, 47 states you can do this in. So let's say we take out the counties from the states you can't do it in. You're still talking about 2,600 counties that you could do this in. If we look at like this county, just for example, and ones we really want to work, which go to about 937, it's $1.3 million worth of claims, $455,000. If we work the second county, just if we work the top 10, we got another $112,000 there. So you can see this. You don't have to do a lot of counties to make a lot of money, which is really great. And I actually recommend just do 1 or 2 counties to start with and then expand from there. This can be your business. We got this $42,000 check-in with a $12,000 finder's fee we had on that one, and we had no particular use for the money, but it's there when we needed it. So can you imagine like $12,000 extra? I mean, that's advertising. If you wanted to do inventory, you could do all kinds of things. Maybe you could do more business lines. It's anything. Just having that cushion is really nice. If you're someone who's working their way saying, I want to be able to leave my job comfortably, well, do some of these and put that in the savings bank. Imagine that. Did you know that if you pay off your home mortgage, your wife will love you 27.6% more? This is mathematically proven. Well, maybe not mathematically proven, but so imagine if you took this money, like this $12,000, and you said, I don't have anything to do it. Let me just throw it into the mortgage. If anybody's ever seen like an amortization schedule, if you pay extra money on your mortgage, especially early on in the mortgage, a 30-year mortgage very quickly becomes a 20-year mortgage. That very quickly becomes a 10-year mortgage, then a 5-year mortgage, then it's paid off. And that day in my house, when we got an envelope in the mail from the mortgage company, and the envelope was our mortgage marked paid. It actually said paid in full, which is really just stamped right across the front, paid in full. I went out to the mailbox, got it, and I was looking at it, wow, this is awesome. And so I didn't say anything. So my wife came home, and she came in the house, and I said, I got something special for you, a surprise. And she said, what? I said, close your eyes. And I hand her the envelope. And she opens her eyes, she looks in the envelope, and she sees the mortgage paid off, paid in full. Let me tell you, that was one happy lady. Can you imagine if you just did this? Don't even say anything. Just throw in some money, a little bit at a time, 1,000 here, 2,000 there. Just even if you made 12,000, maybe put 10% of it into your mortgage, throw an extra $1,000. And then one day you surprise your spouse with a paid off mortgage. And whether your spouse is man or woman, they're going to be really happy because one of my big things in life was I wanted to be financially independent and financially free. What I figured out is that to me that meant when my passive income meets my monthly expenses. And I looked at my monthly expenses, and my biggest one was my mortgage. And I think that's pretty much for everybody. That's your biggest payment, right? So I'm like, okay, so I got to pay off this mortgage. That's my biggest single payment. Let me do that because, I could cut off HBO, but that's going to save me like $18 a month. It's not getting me anywhere. So let me pay off my mortgage. That's where the real money is. And that's what I did. You can do this too. Just take from each deal a little bit of money, put it in there. And believe me, it'll be a really happy day when you work your way up to that. Such a feeling of accomplishment, and your spouse will be absolutely beside themselves, thrilled. Or maybe you want to do one of my students. She cracks me up. She's working in her own county. She's determined to clean up the entire county, not let them, as she says, steal anybody's money. She's like, big and small, I'm getting them all. And so she contacts all these people and say, no, the county owes you some money. I'd like to help you get it. I specialize in this. Would you like to work with me? She's getting them all, big and small. And one thing, when you do one county over and over again, it really does get faster and easier because you know how they work. You build up a relationship with the folks that work the counter, and it gets easier. So she got 5 within 3 weeks of one another, made $5,100, which is great, brought $17,000 back, so $12,000 went to the people who owned it. And she's just plowing through the county. And the funniest thing about this is they hold new tax sales all the time, so they keep restocking her list for her. It's one of the only businesses I know where the government restocks your leads at least once a year. Every county holds a tax sale at least once a year. So they're restocking every year, which I think is really comical that they're restocking the list. So that's funny. And so what would your life be like if checks like those were yours? And I think I told you, one of my trips the year before last was going to the Ferrari factory in Modena, Italy. Oh my gosh. So Eva wanted to go to Italy for our summer trip. I'm like, I love Italy. I'll go anytime. And so I read somewhere like Automobile Magazine or something that they have a Ferrari museum that they just opened, and they had a Ferrari factory tour you could go on. That would be cool. So I said, hey, I'm in for Italy. Could we work, going into the Ferrari factory and museum? She's like, sure, that sounds like fun. So we went to Modena, Italy, which is where they are, and they have a restaurant that's fantastic, and they have this museum, and I saw this Ferrari F40 convertible, and I was like in love with this thing. So I found out all about that car, and with this car, they don't produce it now, so you can get it at like Barrett, Jackson Auto Auctions and all that, and I researched it, and what's cool about that car is that if you buy it, and you keep it nice, like you have to keep it under a cover, keep it garage, just take it on nice days, but if you do that, it actually goes up in value over time. They only made 60 of these, by the way, and they're all custom orders, 60 of them, that's it. So they go up in value. So a nice thing about a car like that is you can drive it, have a great time with it, but it's not like, you go to trade it in 4 years later and it's worth, a quarter of what you paid for it. That one goes up in value. And then you can get a different one. So I was like, that is cool. I want to do that. Or maybe you're like, hey, Bob, I've got more practical concerns. I've got a daughter that's, college age. She's really bright. She's really worked hard. And she just got into a private college. She got into MIT. Oh my gosh. Amazing university, amazing future. She's going to be an engineer. She's going to go do a startup and make $1 billion. But not if I can't find a way to pay for this MIT. And by the way, a school like MIT is like $65,000 a year. Crazy. So you're doing that for 4 years. You're at like $260,000 for college. And for most families, I think that's like basically unaffordable. So you know what I would do if that were my problem? I'd go over here. I would go right here to my overages list. And I'd say, all right, I need $65,000 for year one of college. I would say, you know what? Betty Juno, it is your lucky day because I need money for college. And Old Peachtree Village Retail, I'm calling you up. And I've got $91,000 as a starter by 2 overages deals. And you know what I'd do with that $91,000? I would do a couple things. I would pay cash for college that year, $65,000. I would buy her a good, reliable car to get her back and forth. Like say a used Toyota Corolla, 2, 3 years old, 20,000 miles on it. That's going to get her all through college, maybe into her first couple of working years. So I'd spend, 20 grand on that. So now I've spent 85,000. I've got 6,000 left over to furnish her dorm room. Let's say freshman year I spent that money. And I say, oh man, sophomore year's coming up. What are you going to do? Well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to call Kevin Johnson and say, Kevin, I'd love to help you. And there's $49,000 in my pocket. And then I'd help Benford Holbrooks, and I'd have $85,000 just working those 2 deals. That's what I'd do. And so we've now covered with these 4 overages deals, freshman and sophomore year, and we've got $20,000 left over. So third year comes along, junior year, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to help the Bryants, I'm going to help Hung Tran, and I'm going to add the $20,000 I'd left over. Bam, 73 grand. Now with these two, I've got junior year paid for. I've just paid for 3 years of MIT with 6 overages deals. And you say, but Bob, there's senior year. I know there's senior year, and you know exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing this. We're helping Cody Taylor with our college fund. Jack Woodside, I'm going to get him to contribute to the college fund, and we're going to help Arlen Gabay. And we're done. 65 grand finished. And we did those ones. And can you imagine that with these 9 deals we just paid for MIT? How crazy is that? And that makes it doable. 9 overage deals, and we just paid for college with no debt. Or maybe you say, you know what? It's been a long winter. We just love to have like a nice family vacation. I was looking at those all-inclusives in Jamaica. It looked awesome. I want to go. I want to take the whole family, build those family memories. All right, so all-inclusive for 4. With $10,000, you're going to have a pretty rock star trip, don't you think? So we need $10,000. Well, let's go to our overages list. What do we got? Well, here's one. Let's just help out. Well, we'll go down to the bottom list. Let's get Emery Bryant. We will help Emery Bryant. This is going to be our trip, so make this a different color. Let's do light blue. So we're going on our light blue tropical vacation. We're helping Emery Bryant. We have $12,600. Rock star vacation, no question. Like you go to the all-inclusive, kids say, oh, we want to go jet skiing. Great, go jet skiing. Let's get the family pictures. Oh, sure, do you want the lobster upgrade tonight? Sure, absolutely. But you got $12,000. And can you imagine you're sitting there swinging that hammock, just hear the breeze just rustling through the palm trees, you're hanging out. You look over your shoulder, there's your spouse, your wife just sitting there, reading a book under the palm tree, smiling, relaxed. She's got her sunglasses up on her head. She's just relaxed and smiling back at you. You hear off in the distance your kids playing around in the surf, giggling and laughing, having a great time with the other kids and the instructor. And the greatest thing about it, it's all paid for, cash, 1 overages deal. Server says, hey, do you want another pina colada? Absolutely. Include a $5 tip for yourself. It's really that's living. And it's most living when you don't have to worry about the credit card bill when you come back. Or maybe, I don't know, I like small boats, one of my favorite things. So maybe you go to the boat show and you saw what I saw, which is this 21-foot bow rider. And I looked at this boat, it's $49,000 with everything I want, like the water skis, life jackets, the whole deal, 49 grand out the door with the trailer. For me, that's, I can take friends out, I can take family out, really fun. It's something I love to do. But I don't want a boat with a payment. I want to put $358 a month for the rest of my life. Forget it. Instead, if I need $49,000 for a boat, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to help out. Let's see. I'm going to work with Bernadine Stevens for $19,000. I'm going to work out with Tony Shed Mack. I'm going to help out Julie Pate. And just for the heck of it, we'll help out. Let's see what happens if we get Jennifer McCombs. Ooh, I overdid it. Anyway, so let's say we help out these folks. $72,000 left over, and let's make them gold. Color coding our goals. So we help with those folks, and that gets our boat. Plus, I've got $23,000 left over. So I have some money to put in the bank, and I can dock the boat for the year and pay for gas and everything else. No problems, no worries. And plenty left. And maybe say, Bob, don't have a college-age kid, don't want a Ferrari, don't need a vacation. I just want some savings in the bank. I understand that. That's an admirable goal. A lot of people would feel a lot more secure with some savings in the bank. I mean, if you want savings in the bank, we'll just do it the easy way. We'll just go to this list, work these 10, put $112,000 in your bank. Pretty easy. And again, these are 2 lists. You can get lists from any of around 2,700 counties or what available to work. And they keep restocking lists because they keep holding the tax sales every year. And in some counties, by the way, they hold tax sales monthly, but they all hold them at least annually. So imagine what your life would be like with a powerful business that can generate the money to have all these things that you could want. And that's what this business is. And that's what, when you get involved, this is what you can do. Here's how you're going to get started right away. You get the course. The training takes 3 to 4 hours to go through. You do get access immediately. When you order on the internet, which is probably the easiest way, you'll get emailed back your user ID and your password, and you can be started your training literally 5 minutes from now. It takes 3 to 4 hours to go through and you get started. Or if you telephone, you can also order that way. Then we'll email your user ID and password as soon as you put your order in, and we'll get you started. We'll show you the areas to target. We'll show you the 18 best states to work in, the best counties to work in, how to get the lists, meaning the records of people owed the money, and how to find those people, both using free resources like Facebook and Google, but also using the system is $58 for 6 months is fantastic. So use that. And then you start sending out your requests for money. Literally, it's very realistic to get involved this month and get your first overages under contract next month. That's realistic and actually easy to do. So all you have to do is implement it. Your success is going to depend on you doing it. But if you do it, then very realistic to get your first overages under contract next month. The cost is $14.97, so that's your investment in this. Very easy to make this one pay off. If you recover one small overage of less than $5,000, you recover it. And it's really simple math. 5,000 times 30% is $1,500. So easy to make this one pay off for you. And if you want to go down to a $5,000 overage, you got to go all the way down to Charles King, which is number 19 on this list. And on this list, you have to go down. These are pretty far down the pike even on this one. You got to go to Emma McDonald Shipley. That's this one down here. So very, very easy for you to make this pay off for you. In the training, we break down each step. We show you step-by-step how to do it. We give you a video and written materials for each step. And we do that because some people learn better by video. Maybe you want to watch a video. And some people like to see it in writing. And there are PDFs that you can read online or you can download. So very simple. And by the way, you get access to both video and written. And we made it so one video corresponds to one chapter in the written. So it's very easy. A good way to use it is you watch the video to get the overview. And then when you're doing it, use the written materials because you can underline, you can highlight, easy to go back to the material, easier than fast forwarding and rewinding a video. We'll show you the best states to work in. We'll give you all the contracts, the call scripts, and the resources that you need to do the business. And we'll give you a special bonus to help with credibility. We talked about earlier, credibility is like the toughest challenge in this business. Well, people, what they think is that you're some sort of internet scammer. Like, oh, I don't know, it sounds too good to be true, and blah, 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 blah. So if I was talking to you, I would say, are you near a computer? And of course you're near a computer. You can use your phone if you have to. Why don't you go on our website? I want to show you a couple things. And I show you my website. It has frequently asked questions or contact information, like where they can mail us or phone number, an explanation of how the process works, frequently asked questions, a really good professional 4-page website. You can put your picture on there if you'd like to. We set that website up for you so that you have credibility. And all you have to do is fill in a short form with what you want to call your business, what phone number you want people to call, your P.O. box or physical address. You can use a physical address. You literally just fill in a simple form, press send, and the website really automatically assembles itself. And like 3 minutes later, it'll be up and running on the internet. It's great because internet scammers don't have websites like that. Show you my website, go to bobsgotyourrefund.com, just for example. That's not my real website, but that's an example. So you go to bobsgotyourrefund.com, you're like, oh, wow, is that your picture? Yeah, that's me. Oh, this is interesting. And then they can see a professional website. And the thing is that someone who just calls on the phone with a quick scam doesn't have that. And this really enhances your credibility. And it really knocks out a lot of the credibility problem. Your only cost to this, very modest cost, all you need to do is pay for a URL, meaning a domain name. We show you how to get them. You can pay GoDaddy $11.99 a year for one, and that's your only cost. We'll do the hosting, we'll do the programming, we'll cover all the other stuff for you. So all you do is an annual update with GoDaddy for $11, $12 a year, and that's all it costs you to have your own website. And most importantly, it's done, and you get it working. We'll give you a second bonus, how to use virtual assistants for this business. So I figured out how to use virtual assistants to do most of the work. My virtual assistants get a list of people with the money. They find the people. They contact them by internet, phone, or snail mail. They actually take the calls and get the agreement, so they sign people up. They then submit the claim for me. And you might look at this and say, wait a minute, if they do all that, where do you fit in? Well, I'm the one that orchestrates the whole thing. So I have different people getting lists than the people that find the people. I have different people making calls and getting the agreements, and they don't know one another. Like when a list comes in, they give me the list, I pass it on to the people who do the finding. The finding people get the contact information, then they pass it back to me. I then send it to the people that make the calls. The people who make calls, once they get the agreement, they pass it back to me, and then I send out the people to go get everything signed up. So by having everything separated out, the work's divided up, so none of them know enough to steal the business. They just know what they do. So I become, and you'll become, the coordinator and director of these folks, which is why I'm able to go on a safari and still do business. That's why, because it's all divided up. And you don't have to use VAs at the beginning. You can do everything yourself if you want to save the money. But after a while, to expand your business, you're going to want to pay some VAs so that you can do it without driving yourself crazy. Third bonus, I'm going to give you 3 hours of live training when you register now. So my business partners and I are going to show you the system and answer your questions on the program live. This is available when you register now. It's what I talked about earlier. We have webinars that'll be starting this Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It's scheduled for an hour, although I do have a commitment that I will answer every question, answer in every call. So our team will be there. So if it runs over an hour, it just means there are extra questions, and that's fine. There's no waiting list for this. We're going to get the count of people once this webinar is over, and then I'm going to make sure I have enough people on my side to cover that many students. I'm not going to take people who are last minute Larry and last minute Jane. I can't have 10 people signing up 10 minutes before the live webinar and then have me scrambling around to find an extra instructor to answer questions. I don't run my business that way. So the deal is, if you sign up now, we will have enough people on our side to answer all the questions. If you sign up later, then you can still sign up. You just will not be on the live call. We don't have a waiting list. We're not going to play that game. So sign up now if you want to be on the live training. Again, the training calls are scheduled for an hour. It may last up to an hour and a half, just depending on how many questions. Starts this coming Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, continues weekly, and the calls are recorded for you to listen to later. So if you want to listen to them over again, you want to let someone from your staff listen to them, they can listen. No problem. It's free downloads. You can listen all you want. But the class is limited to those who register now. There are hundreds of millions of dollars up for grabs. These overages are generated from residential and commercial properties. The money's sitting out there. You've seen the list. I showed them to you. That money's just sitting there waiting. It's 2 counties out of 2,700 you could do. The money is sitting there waiting. These overage checks can be your checks. We got $10,900 in the office. It wasn't earmarked for anything. It's just sitting there ready to go. You can have days like that too, where you're able to take those home to your spouse or go deposit them in the bank and watch the bank teller's eyes as you start dropping checks like that in the bank. Pretty soon they say, we want you to meet the branch manager. How can we be more helpful to you? Might even have days like this, $54,000 check. Now, he did have something in particular for this check. He actually had a renovation project he was doing that had a cost overrun that was $13,000, and he was able to cover it with his finder's fee. And he's like, I still grumbled about the cost overrun, but at least I was able to pay it and get to the end of my project. You can have days like this, but only if you get in the game. You can't hit a home run if you don't get in the game. So get in the game. So the program's $1,497, or you can do payments if you'd like. It's 3 payments of $597. Payment plan is very simple. 1 payment of $597 now. You get the course, you get everything, you get the full support, you get the training, you can get started. 1 payment of $597 30 days from now, and 1 payment 30 days after that. I do realize 3 payments of $597 is a little more than $1,497. That's because it's more work for us to do payment plans. Sometimes people's debit cards or credit cards don't clear the second time. We have to call them up and chase them down. It's a big nuisance. So if you can do a single payment, it's less work for us. It'll cost you a little less. If you need to do payments, do payment plans. Very simple. $597, you're started. You get all access to everything, including live training. We don't treat people with payment plans any different than anybody else. So however you register, you do get live training when you register now. It again starts Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. The training is available to you by pre-recorded videos also, and written and quick start guide. You'll get access to that the minute that you get registered. You'll get your user ID and login. You can log right in. We'll show you the best states to do this in. We'll show you all the rules in all the states so you can decide how is best that you want to run your business. We'll give you all the legal forms, the scripts, and the resources you need to do the business. And the training is all online. It starts as soon as you register. So when you get started, I'm going to be thrilled to welcome you to the program. And hopefully next time we do this check roll that you're saying, you'll be able to have one of your checks on here. These are checks that we've gotten, that our students have gotten. And you can assume that we're keeping between 30 and 40% of that money that you see flying across the screen, and our students are doing the same. It's a lot of money sitting out there. And just imagine if you were getting checks like this day after day, how amazing your life would be. And what a great business opportunity this is. So I'm sure people are excited to get involved. I can't see the orders from here, but I'm sure we've got some new friends who are going to soon be cashing their own overages checks.
Hey, Bob, let me jump in here because I'm seeing those checks fly across the screen. And for everyone who's on the line right now, if you're like me, you're probably hypnotized. You're like, this is amazing. And this is exactly why I want to bring Bob back, because his simple system works. Only an attorney and a real estate investor could have ever connected the dots to find this loophole. And the information he lays out for you and how detail-oriented he is, you'll be up and running in no time. You just need to visit connectedoverages.com. Connected connectedoverages.com. Make the investment right here, right now, while we're on the line. Connectedoverages.com. Bob, this is so great. Thank you again for spending time with us on the podcast, spending time with us on this call. People need to know about this. My members at Connected Investors need to know about this because it's an easy bolt-on to do as a real estate investor that just has checks coming in the mail. Plus, the people that you're reaching out to need to know about this. Again, it's money that's owed to them. They were down and out. They were not in a good place. They left their house. And guess what? The market shot up, right? Crazy things happen in certain markets. Their house gets sold. The government's keeping that money. That's not right. That's not right. So with this system, you get to right some of those wrongs. There's a lot of things going on in the government right now that you may or may not like, but you feel powerless. Like you can't really do anything about it other than complain. But with this, you can actually do something about it. You can get in there. You can get the money for those individuals, give them their money, put some money in your pocket as well. And it's a fantastic way for you to fuel anything else that you're doing, your real estate investing, your hobbies, your goals, your dreams, whatever it might be, your charity work. This is pretty cool, Bob, because it's almost like getting paid to do charity work. A lot of people say, oh, I'll do charity once I'm rich, right? Once I have more money, I'll start doing charity work. Once I have more time, I'll start doing charity work. They call it now or never for a reason, because if you don't do it now, it never happens. You have to do anything you're going to do right now. So visit connectedoverages.com, make the investment, help other people, put money in your pocket, right some of these wrongs that are happening out there, and call it a day. I mean, this is really a no-brainer, Bob. Thank you so very much for spending so much time with us recently. And again, everyone who might have been on a previous webinar or previous podcast with Bob and I'm sure you understand why I'm always so excited to get a little bit of his time to share this information with you, because it does so much good for so many people. So visit connectedoverages.com right now, make the investment, and you'll be up and running. Bob, before we leave, do you have any other final words of wisdom for our members?
Yeah, I look forward to seeing people in training on Monday, so we'll help get you started. And I'll wait about 10 minutes before we get a head count, because I know people are going to leave the webinar or then head over to the website. So I'll give you 10 or 15 minutes to go do that. But after that, we will just get the head count. We'll go ahead and fill up the class. And I look forward to getting people started and working with them, getting to know them. And let's go help some people and make a bunch of money for yourselves. That's really doing good business. So for those of you who get involved, I'll see you on Monday at training at 8 o'clock. And I'll look forward to getting you started.
Thanks so much, Bob. You just reminded me of a quote. It said, I think of Warren Buffett. It might have been a quote by Warren Buffett, one of the big moguls out there. It said, if you make nothing but money, you don't have a great business. And what's great about this is you need the money, right, to fuel your business, to fuel your life, but you get to make a difference as well with this, a difference in these people's lives. So again, it's just the perfect bolt-on for a real estate investor, the perfect thing for someone to do that has a heart, right? Someone who's looking for that side hustle that also wants to help people, something they can be really proud of and tell similar stories to their friends. Hey, I helped this person, get $40,000 back, and they were able to put their kid in college, or they were able to pay for a medical bill, or put a new roof on their house, or any of those things that would really help someone else. And you get to make a lot of money while you're doing it. So again, thank you so very much for spending your time with me on these webinars, on our Connected Investors podcast and inside the Connected Investors platform. I look forward to talking to you next time. All right, everyone. I'll see you on the inside. Bye-bye.